guys?
Yes, black guys are melanated, and I want my children to survive, and I know that the only way for them to survive in the future is for them to have melanin in their skin. So that's the way for me to, make my legacy continue.
Okay, I like that answer.
Hey y'all, I'm about to start my own smoke detector and fire extinguisher business because it's gonna be mad smoke after this one. Like, subscribe, and share, family. Okay, first, what? Okay, wait a minute. This is just run it back real quick. Let's run it back.
Guys?
Yes, black guys are melanated, and I want my children to survive, and I know that the only way for them to survive in the future is for them to have melanin in their skin. So that's the way for me to, make my legacy continue.
Okay, I like that answer.
Okay, what she said was this. I'm paraphrasing. She said, the reason she dates black men is because they have melanin in their skin, and she wants her children to survive. So this is her way of ensuring that her children survive. Now, wait, this is 2021 right now when I'm recording this, and she actually probably would have said this in 2020 and it was posted by other YouTubers. So it's not that old, but the thing is, she ain't old. She got to be about 20. He got to be about in his 20s. Okay. So my question is about this. Who is instructing this girl to think that the only way her children will survive is if she mates with a black person? Where does that ideology come from? And then on his side, what is he doing with his hands? I don't understand. And actually I do, but I'm trying to make the point of when she said that, why did he believe his proper response will be to raise his hand like that and make that hand gesture? What is the pathology that makes these two concepts correlate? I'm about to show you. And I know you probably thinking to yourself, isn't the topic, can you be racist and biracially date? The pathology behind it, how does this equate to that topic? Well, let me show you how in the occult, let me show you how there's an occult agenda that's playing out right now that brings about the conditions of how somebody that's racist would desire to biracially date. Just keep watching. It's going to make some sense in a minute.
And here you see Bill Clinton. This is a hypnotic induction for a mind-controlled slave. He hypnotically inducts them.
Let's ask an occultist right here. Dr. Stephen E. Flowers has a PhD in Germanic languages and medieval studies with a dissertation entitled Ruins and Magic. And this is Dr. Flowers as a younger man. Look at him. You see, he's trying to live that life. I'm trying to show you that this is what these people are about. So they ain't just talking and writing books. This is their whole life and their culture, where they come from. The Flowers book, Lords of the Left-Hand Path, Forbidden Practices and Spiritual Heresies. Under Lesser Magic, he states, in the Satanic Bible, lesser magic is defined as the non-ritual or manipulative magic, and is further characterized as the wile and guile obtained through various devices and contrived situations, which when utilized, can create change in accordance with one's will. This type of magic has historically been called fascination or glamour, but on a grander scale, today it might be called propaganda or advertising. So that's exactly what's going on when they put out these movies and films and television shows and the media. They're using what's called lesser magic to manipulate your thinking. Remember, the Church of Satan is located in California, same place where Hollywood is located. So when you see in these movies and these ideas, that concepts that correlate with satanic agendas, this is why. It was on purpose. If you're interested in the information, look up General Michael Aquino. He was Antoine LaVey's right-hand man. General Aquino also led the PSYOPs battalion of the United States government. So what you need to understand is Satanism and leading officials in the United States government have been working hand in hand for quite a while now. Just look into the information. You'll see it.
Is there anything more beautiful than a sunrise? Hi, I'm Roman Armitage, and if you're watching this, you're probably wondering what's going on. Well, there's no need to worry. Let's take a walk. You have been chosen because of the physical advantages you enjoyed your entire lifetime. With your natural gifts and our determination, we could both be part of something greater, something perfect. The coagula procedure is a man-made miracle. Our order has been developing it for many, many years. And it wasn't until recently it was perfected by my own flesh and blood. My family and I are honored to offer it as a service to members of our group. Don't waste your strength. Don't try to fight it. You can't stop the inevitable. And who knows? Maybe one day you'll enjoy being members of the family. Behold, the coagula.
Every white person in this room who would be happy to be treated as this society in general treats our citizens, our black citizens, if you as a white person would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do in this society, please stand. You didn't understand the directions. If you white folks want to be treated the way blacks are in this society, stand. Nobody's standing here. That says very plainly that you know what's happening. You know you don't want it for you. I want to know why you're so willing to accept it or to allow it to happen for others.
Dan, don't you think that what's going on and what has been going on is not necessarily ignorance because nobody told me any better? Because you just explained, and also I've seen in the exercises that you do, people just flat out deny their position, or that they've been, or that someone else's discrimination is worse than theirs. But doesn't this all come down to survival? You know, doesn't this really come down to the fear of genetic annihilation? If I allow myself, if I allow everyone that is melanated an equal playing field, a level playing field, then I won't be able to compete with them. I won't be able to stay in control and stay in my privileged, nice position, because no group wants to give up their privilege. And so isn't this about, you know what, if I keep them here, then I can survive, because I know that my numbers are down all over the globe. I know that we're not procreating and reproducing. I know that the sperm count is low in males of European descent all over the globe, and it's been decreasing. Just like Brexit, I know if I continue to let immigrants come in, then melanated people are going to outnumber non-melanated people. They outproduce us. So isn't this more or less about genetic annihilation, not just because I'm ignorant?
Do you even think that the average person walking down the street even knows genetic annihilation?
No, it's subconscious. It's subconscious.
Wait a minute. We can talk about subconscious bias and conscious bias until hell freezes over. But that won't solve the problem. And we can use words of 4 and 5 and 6 syllables, and that solves the problem. You're going to have to talk in the language that the average human being in the United States understands. And here it is. You either change your behaviors today, or you're going to suffer greatly tomorrow. Now, if you want your children to survive in the future, you better change your ideas about miscegenation, because the hole in the ozone layer is getting larger and larger. And as the hole in the ozone layer gets larger and larger, more and more sunlight enters our environment, and more pale faces are going to suffer from melanoma, which is a skin cancer which can spread throughout your body, which happens because you don't have any protection from the dangerous rays of the sun. Now, you can tell that to people in 1 and 2 and 4 syllables, and they can understand that, and then they can say, oh my God, maybe I better be nicer to these people who are going to be running this show in the future. If people your age who are pale faces want to survive to be my age, they better change their behaviors now. Because by the time you're my age, you will be in a majority group instead of the minority color-wise in this country. That's a fact.
She just gave us the code. Climate change is code for white genetic annihilation. So they really ain't worried about nature. This is all about protecting white supremacy and protecting their lineage for the people that's white supremacists. Now, I'm not trying to claim that any way that Jane Elliott is somehow associated with the occult. Jane Elliott, for years, even decades even, has done a great job of working with the white community on addressing systematic racism. So I'm not trying to associate her in any way or form with occultism. What I'm trying to do is show that she had made statements that is aligned with what occultists think. So this is what I'm trying to point out to you. For instance, take a look at this cover from Lucifer magazine that Helena Blavatsky was the editor on. You will see in the subtext exactly what is meant by white supremacy, because white supremacy has more to do with Luciferian ideology than it does with actual racism. Watch, I prove it. Okay, here we got the cover of Lucifer magazine, a theosophical magazine, edited by H.P. Blavatsky and Mabel Collins. Subtext says, the light bearer is the morning star, or Lucifer, and Lucifer is no profane or satanic title. It is the Latin Luciferus, the light bringer, the morning star, equivalent to the Greek Luciferos. The name of the pure, and this is what I was trying to point out, the name of the pure and pale herald of daylight. So with that pale statement, they're trying to tell you that Luciferianism is associated with whiteness or paleness, being that Lucifer himself, in their context of thinking, is pale. All right, so white supremacy is dealing with that. That's why in some of the white supremacist groups, they call it the white brotherhood. So don't worry about it. I'm going to show you a little bit more in just a second. Not only on Helena Blavatsky, but in this next clip, y'all remember 2012 when they was talking about it's going to be destruction and apocalypse due to the Mayan calendar? Well, that wasn't just necessarily about the physical destruction of the earth, but it was about, from a spiritual standpoint, a spiritual uplift through a occult New Age ideology. And I'm going to show you how this New Age preacher at the time, Alexander Retroff, was speaking towards what I'm trying to tell you in this video about how the biracial dating is important to the survival of the earth. So watch what he says. So listen to how he says it, and then we'll come back and I'll comment on it.
Apart from seeing this thing in the sky, there's also going to be 4 Jupiter-sized planets floating around at the same time. So the skies are going to look amazing. There's also going to be communication between the brown dwarf and our sun. By communication, I mean exchange of plasma. So they're going to be these massive coronal injections that are going to be happening. So the sky is going to look incredible. It's going to be pretty dangerous. There is a possibility that one of the other planets around Nibiru could collide with one of the other planets in our solar system, or with the sun. I'm being told those things won't happen this time, but the sky is going to look amazing. Really, this is such an exciting time to be here. And I know it seems bizarre, but you'll work through, and Crystal will take you through this process of working through the initial shock to get you into your higher self, to understand why you're here. The human form, the human body. Okay, we've got the reptilians in human forms over here. Then we've got what I call Gaia homegrowns. And then over here you've got your star-seeded. And many of you will fall into this category here. The Gaia homegrown consciousness in human bodies is consciousness that has come through Gaia. It's gone through being mineral. It's gone then up through being plant consciousness. It's then gone up through animals and insect. It's gone through the whole hierarchy, which the Buddhists talk about, to get into human body consciousness. And they are homegrown. And most of these people are pretty simple, basic sort of people. We probably all know people who we go, yeah, they don't have a lot of spirituality about them. Okay? That's a really important thing to say, because the star-seeded people are the ones who were invited to this planet to come as healers. So they put their hand up and they said, yes, I'm going to come and I'm going to heal. They came from the Pleiades or Sirius or whatever they bring with them. Now, when you come here, you will partner up with someone from here, because there's no point with you partnering another Pleiadian. Waste of time. So you will connect with people to try to...
Now though, that's actually, that was the case, but now, over the last sort of 10 years, that's actually shifted. So a lot of staff...
Because of what's going to happen.
Actually, yeah, exactly.
Yes, they're regrouping because they know it's time to leave.
Yeah.
They've done their work.
Definitely.
Okay. You will find someone who needs to learn about unconditional love and do everything to try to get it to them, and they just won't get it. So then you move on, you find another one. So, well, I'll try and find another one. And that's exactly what the healers do, whatever it is you do. And that's why you've chosen to come here.
Would a healer ever attempt to heal a reptilian or a hybrid reptilian?
Look, no. From the people I've spoken to, they have a knee-jerk reaction to them straight away and they don't have anything to do with them. Because you can't heal these people. They have...
Cold-blooded.
They're cold-blooded. Yeah, you're not going to be able to heal them, so therefore you suddenly go, no, I'm not going to go there. So you just stay away from them. So no, I don't know of any star-seeded people who've tried to heal reptilians.
Did those people mentioned in the book, an old ancient book, The Keys of Enoch, these star-seeded people?
Oh, look, you get them referred to left, right and centre in all of the ancient religions.
Now I've got a placement for them, yeah.
Yeah. But they're not necessarily the Anunnaki. Okay? There are people in this room that come from different star seeds who have come here to help. And here's the interesting thing. There are a lot of light workers who are praying, doing a lot of spiritual work to prevent these earth changes from happening. Okay? Not allowed to. You're not allowed to. You are not allowed to interfere with the free will of Gaia. The light workers who are doing that are caught up in their own ego. I'm the brilliant doctor who can heal all. Okay? Let's say all the life forms consciousness is on Gaia. Amoebas, ants, fish, birds, animals, you name it. Add them all up. Now put the human consciousness in. Where do we fall? Nowhere. We're less than 0.00001% of the consciousness on this planet. And in terms of Gaia, an ant has as much of a vote as a human, as a life force. So Gaia and all of the life forces on this planet saw a half a dozen cells deciding they were going to do their own thing. What do we call that? We call that cancer. And we get rid of it because it's detrimental. Gaia has an agreement with the sun and this solar system to have a cycle of cleansing that comes through every period, and a culling of this 100% of human consciousness. And I'm not talking about the star-seeded, because a lot of these people say it's going to be a smooth transition and you're just going to be able to ascend. Of course it is for them, because they can just shift back into their star consciousness whenever they want. Not a problem. So they'll do it. But they're trying to tell these people that they can do it too, and that the events aren't going to happen. So they're all praying against the free will of Gaia. Not allowed to happen. Not allowed to happen. But here's the interesting thing. A small percentage of the human consciousness have been able to deactivate the reptilian DNA that's in them, which keeps them locked in fear, and step up to create something quite extraordinary. And the Galactic Federation, fifth dimensional beings, etc., think that's extraordinary. And so they are coming here en masse to support and witness it, the transition.
This some crazy.
As a life force. So Gaia and all of the life forces on this planet saw a half a dozen cells deciding they were going to do their own thing. What do we call that? We call it cancer. And we get rid of it because it's detrimental.
Do they have to use the same methodology for us to see that they're saying the same thing?
Hi, I'm Al Gore, chairman of the Climate Reality Project, and I'm proud to be part of the Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival. Because right now, this call for revival could not be more timely or more important. We are way overdue in America for a solid reckoning that brings everyone closer to understanding the intersection of the critical issues we're facing in our time. So I'm very proud to be working alongside Reverend William Barber II, Reverend Liz Theo Harris, and the Poor People's Campaign, and alongside all those who are fighting to expose and address these evils and intolerable injustices. We already know that poverty and systemic racism are completely and tightly linked with the climate crisis. And the climate crisis is already causing massive human suffering around the world and in our country, and will cause even more impacts unless we act with urgency. When our planet heats up, it disproportionately affects the most vulnerable, and that's particularly true for low-income families, communities of color, the elderly, infants and children, also the mentally ill and the homeless and those with pre-existing conditions. The climate crisis, if it's not addressed, threatens to push another 100 million people worldwide into poverty by 2030. And that's on top of the present poverty crisis in this country, where today nearly 140 million Americans are poor or low income. These impacts have been brought into much clearer focus recently, as evidence shows that exposure to more air pollution significantly increases the infection rates and mortality rates from COVID-19.
To summarize this executive order, it's about jobs, good paying union jobs. It's about workers, building our economy back better than before. It's a whole of government approach. Put climate change at the center of our domestic, national security, and foreign policy. It's advancing conservation, revitalizing communities in cities and on the farmlands, and securing environmental justice. Our plans are ambitious, but we are America. We're bold. We're unwavering in the pursuit of jobs and innovation, science and discovery. We can do this. We must do this, and we will do this. I'm now going to sign the executive order to meet the climate crisis with American jobs and American ingenuity. And I want to thank you all.
Biden's first week in office, he passed the climate change bill. If he really cared about the American people, wouldn't he have passed the COVID relief bill already?
How long are you willing to get sufficient Republican support before you would greenlight Democrat attempts to use reconciliation?
The decision to use reconciliation will depend upon how these negotiations go. It's not enough for me just to come up to you and say, I like this, I expect you to support it.
I support passing COVID relief with support from Republicans if we can get it, but the COVID relief has to pass. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
A significant shift in tone there from President Joe Biden, seeming to admit bipartisanship might not be possible in passing his proposed COVID relief bill.
And we just don't have.
Senator, you've said you can't reach out to Republicans indefinitely, and Democrats should use the majority. But this morning, we're hearing 10 GOP senators have a new plan. So is it a mistake for Democrats to consider abandoning bipartisanship negotiations so soon?
Martha, the issue is not, bipartisanship or not. The issue is, are we going to address the incredible set of crises and the pain and the anxiety which is in this country? You know what? I don't care what anybody says. We have got to deal with this pandemic. We have got to make sure that we are producing the vaccines that we need and get those vaccines into the arms of people. We cannot have children in America going hungry, people being evicted, schools not open. We need to open our schools in a safe way. That's what we have to do. So the question is not bipartisanship. The question is addressing the unprecedented crises that we face right now. If Republicans want to work with us, they have better ideas on how to address those crises, that's great. But to be honest with you, I have not yet heard that.
Does your party have the votes to pass the relief package through the reconciliation process if you decide to go that route?
Yeah, I believe that we do, because it's hard for me to imagine any Democrat, no matter what state he or she may come from, who doesn't understand the need to go forward right now in an aggressive way to protect the working families of this country. Look, all of us will have differences of opinion. This is a $1.9 trillion bill. I have differences and concerns about this bill, but at the end of the day, we're going to support the President of the United States, and we're going to come forward, and we're going to do what the American people overwhelmingly want us to do. The polling is overwhelming. Republicans, Democrats,
Senator, you say you're confident about the Democrats, but I saw Joe Manchin from West Virginia this weekend, and he has made remarks after watching Kamala Harris being interviewed about this relief package, saying, no one called me about that. We're going to try to find a bipartisan pathway forward. I think we need to do that. We need to work together. That's not a way of working together. Are you still confident?
Yep, I am absolutely confident. I'll tell you also why. Joe Manchin is a chairman. I'm a chairman. Democrats have majority because of the fact that we won 2 seats with great candidates in Georgia. And obviously, those candidates won the support of the people of Georgia. But that campaign, in many ways, was a national campaign. And what those candidates said is, yes, we are going to provide checks of $2,000, $1,400 on top of the $600. Yes, we're going to extend unemployment benefits. Yes, we are going to address the needs of working families. The entire Democratic Party came together behind the candidates in Georgia. We made promises to the American people. And if politics means anything, if you're going to have any degree of credibility, you know what? You can't campaign on a series of issues and then after the election, when you get power, say, oh, well, you know what? We're changing our mind. That's not the way it works. We made promises to the American people. We're going to keep those promises.
Behold, the coagula.
The office of the president-elect logo and the logo from Get Out look oddly similar, don't you think? This is another example of lesser magic at work. Last couple of points. Elena Blavatsky, let's talk about her secret doctrines, because this is important for you guys to see. This occult agenda goes way back, and it's intricate. So it's plenty of places where you can actually find this information to be true. Blavatsky states, the sixth subrace of the Aryan root race will begin, guess what? It would evolve in the area of the United States in the early 21st century. Now think about that. What century are we in right now? So what she's talking about, the sixth subrace would start to blend together. All the races would come together under a Luciferian doctrine. And that's exactly what we see happening right now. The offices state, out of this race will be born the Maitreya, the world leader, or commonly known as Antichrist. Look at the guy to the right here. This is what they consider to be the Maitreya. You see how he looked like a light-skinned or mixed black person? This was the figure Benjamin Krim identified as the Maitreya at the United Nations talks between the 90s and the 2000s. So this is not just the thoughts of a small culted church. But the UN, United Nations, is a full-fledged believer in this ideology. So we have to take knowledge of that. It's of the utmost importance to understand the white supremacy is built on Luciferian doctrine, not just skin color. This is why you have neo-Nazis and Klan members with black wives. It's about dominance and survival at all costs. One last point before I wrap up the video. Next, I'm going to show you an occult practitioner. From the horse's mouth, I'm going to show you what they say symbolism is and how to identify these symbols. Because when we can identify these symbols, but we can be more aware of what these occult agendas are. More to the fact and how it's going to affect us and our
I want to
families.
thank each and every one of you personally for coming to this event, for being with me now, because I believe that the times we're living in is a time for solutions, and I deal in solutions, and what I present to you today, I hope to give you some more tools, not only to know who's doing what to whom, but what we can do about it. The 20th century was the time for problem think. The 21st century is a time for solution think. I would like personally to thank Victoria Jack and Brian Hall for inviting me and believing in this particular thesis, because the presentation that you're going to see tonight that I'll share with you is one of many things that I do, but it's something I've believed in for a very long time. The presentation's title is called The Hidden Persuaders, the Subversive Use of Sacred Symbolism in the Media. And it is only part of what I do, but a very important part. I work with the tarot and the divination, which is the archive of knowledge, the Gnostic core of the great book of symbolism. The greater book of symbolism, the tarot, these are the main chapters. Anyone who wants to get symbol literate, because Mircea Eliade, Joseph Campbell, Carl Jung have gone blue in the face asking us to get symbol literate, to become aware of how symbols are used, because they take the soul up. By being aware of how symbols work, and art, and imagination, we evolve spiritually. But that which can also help you evolve can also help you devolve, can also help you be enslaved. The letter E is very important. We'll come to letters a little bit later on, but the letter I want to stress to you right now, as in usage, is the letter E. It's the fifth letter of our alphabet, because in ancient occultism, and even in modern occultism, E is very important because it represents the fifth essence, or the quintessence. It was called epsilon. In Greek, the letter E is called epsilon, and it represents a spiritual power of transcendence, the number 5.
Jill and I continued, as I suspect all of you do, is pray for everyone in California, Oregon, and Washington, and across the West as these devastating wildfires rage on, just as we hold them in our hearts, those who have faced the hurricanes, tropical storms off our coast of Florida, North Carolina, or like parts of New Orleans, that in fact have just been issued an emergency evacuation order for Hurricane Sally. Floods and droughts across the Midwest, the fury of climate change everywhere, all this year and right now. Donald Trump's climate denial may not have caused these fires and record floods and record hurricanes, but if he gets a second term, these hellish events will continue to become more common, more devastating, and more deadly. And meanwhile, Donald Trump warns that integration is threatening our suburbs. It's ridiculous. But you know what is actually threatening our suburbs? Wildfires are burning the suburbs in the West. Floods are wiping out suburban neighborhoods in the Midwest. Hurricanes are imperiling suburban life along our coast. If we have 4 more years of Trump's climate denial, how many suburbs will be burned in wildfires? How many suburban neighborhoods will have been flooded out? How many suburbs will have been blown away in superstorms? If you give a climate arsonist 4 more years in the White House, why would anyone be surprised if we have more America ablaze? If you give a climate denier 4 more years in the White House, why would anyone be surprised when more of America is underwater? We need a president who respects science, who understands that the damage from climate change is already here. Unless we take urgent action.
This some crazy.
thank United Medical Center for the work that you do in Southeast DC, serving a community that is often overlooked. So it is good to be here. And I've now been vaccinated, as Joe likes to say. There's a big difference between the vaccine and vaccinations. I want to encourage everyone to get the vaccine. It is relatively painless. It happens really quickly. It is safe. The Moderna, the Pfizer today, I had the Moderna vaccine. My husband is going to have it today as well. I look forward to getting the second vaccine. And literally, this is about saving lives.
Behold, the coagulant.
To find out more information on the subject and to stay up to date, watch Climate Change Decoded presentation on Oracles of Zion YouTube channel.